It's insane to me that we've reached a point where I, as an engineer, can just type in a bunch of requirements into a text box and get a bunch of code generated. Um, if you told me 3 years ago that, hey, this is what we'll be doing, I would have called you a joker, essentially. Today, I'm going to be doing a comparison of two AI models that I've used quite extensively over the past couple of weeks, and I've been using one over the past couple of months. These two models will be Gemini 2.5 Pro and GPT-5. GPT-5 has generally impressed me in the sense that I do not need to intervene as much as I've done with other models. So, for example, hey GPT, generate this for me. Most of the time, it can get a lot of my requirements right on the first try. It honestly amazes me. So today I'm going to be doing a real world test. Why am I doing a real world test? I'm doing a real world test because what we have today is a bunch of benchmarks. I want to see, I'm going to put Gemini on the same code base. I'm going to put GPT-5 on the same code base. And I'm going to ask these two models to build me a property management app. It will be a fairly simple one. And what are we going to do here? We want auth. We want to be able to sign in, sign up. We want to be able to add properties. So it being, metadata like your address, images, rent, amount that you want to charge for that property. And then we're also going to be doing addition of tenants, right? So I want to be able to add tenants to my property. And I want them to be, I want to assign them to those properties. And so that's essentially what we're going to be doing today. So let's get started on this. Okay. So I am essentially going to generate some projects here for us. Okay. Just gonna share this screen here. Okay, hope you can see that here. All right. Just on the Gemini page here. Okay, so if I'm going to open my terminal here, so I'm going to have to go stay up and running. Basically, I am going to Gemini vGPT, right? So that's what we want, Gemini vGPT. Okay, so this project, essentially, I'm going to have a React app. So it's going to be a simple React app, but I'm going to be using Vite for that. So I'm going to go to Vite, whatever it's called. I don't care. So get started, and basically going to use this, right? Yeah. So we're going to generate two projects here. Okay, proceed. Right, so these two projects will basically have a Gemini one. Okay, we're going to choose React, just a TypeScript one. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to do GPT-5, React, TypeScript. Okay, that's awesome. And we're basically going to be using, so now we have those two projects up and running, right? We're basically going to be using both CLIs. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, what are we going to use for like a UI library? That's the first thing, right? So let's start the projects first. So I'm going to Gemini. I'm going to go here. I'm going to say, okay, npm install. I'm going to install those dependencies there. Okay. New tab. Okay, let's go back. GPT-5. Okay, and on GPT-5 we're just going to do the same thing pretty much. So I'm doing the initial setup, but over time we're going to have Gemini and GPT-5 take over. So, and this is where we're essentially going to have them take over. So we're going to run this first of all, npm run dev to start the project. Okay, all right, looking good. We're going to do the same thing for the GPT-5 one, essentially. So it's going to start on a different port. So you can see very identical, pretty much the same. And then now we are basically going to start both agents, right? So I'm going to start Gemini. Okay, so Gemini started. As you can see here, we are on Gemini 2.5 Pro. I'm using the CLIs, so I'm using Gemini CLI for this, basically, because it has context about my files, and I can just interact with it that way. And then I am going to be doing the same thing here for GPT-5, right? So Codex. So Codex says there is an update available, so maybe we should update to the latest version. So I'm just going to search for Codex right here. I'm going to do that, and then I'm just going to close it first of all, and I'm going to paste this just to update the CLI. And maybe I should do the same thing for Gemini as well, because I want to make sure that we are up to date on both of them. So we're going to go here and we're going to grab the npm install command, and we are basically going to paste that in. So it's going to take a little bit. I'm a bit surprised that took that long, but okay. So Gemini, I'm going to load it up again. I'm going to do the same thing for our Codex. Okay, so we have both Gemini and Codex running. So let's see if maybe we should change to the GPT-5 High, since we're on Gemini 2.5 Pro. Right, so let's use the most pro model for both of them, essentially. Okay, so next thing that we are going to try to do here is we are going to prompt it with some requirements, and we're going to give the same prompt to both of them. Okay, so the prompt that we're going to give to them, just going to open this up. I'm going to just write, honestly, this is not great. Let me use VS Code. Okay. All right, so let's close this project. Close folder. And let's open a new one. So this is Gemini, GPT, and we just want to open not a file but a project thing that was here. Okay, so that's open. We could use the Codex agent here, but we don't want to. We're just going to use the terminal for this. So at the top here, of course, you can see that I have the two projects running. So I have Gemini, this is Codex, this is both of them again as well. So we're going to close that. All right, so here we're going to have a simple prompt. So let's just put the prompt here, prompt.md. I'm going to say, hey there, you are a very senior engineer building out a world-class, world-class property management app that does the following. One, allows you to sign up and sign in to your account. I'm probably gonna close this. Okay. Next thing it allows you to do is allows you to add properties. So, of course, this could be and includes metadata such as one, you could say name, address, full address. So full address. So I'm gonna actually put a full address. So you know, by full address, what I mean is address 1, address 2, postal code, city, state. What else do we usually have in an address? I think that is good. And the country. Yeah. 3 allows you to create new tenants and add them and assign them to properties, right? So to properties. And then for the properties, we want like rent amount, right? So how much they should rent that for. So we're just going to start with those 3 prompts. We're going to give it maybe a little bit of guidance because I think that we want to see if it's able to set things up properly. For design system or CSS, let us use Tailwind CSS. Should I tell it if we are in a Vite project or not? I feel like maybe we shouldn't tell it that we are. Like, I'm curious if it will identify what project we're in or what type of project we're in and do the proper setup. I think that would be nice. Feel free to set that up. Tech requirements. Okay, so for design system, what's the next thing? So for auth, honestly, for auth, I think that it should be able to use any like auth out there. I think that maybe I could point it towards one, maybe Firebase. I don't know. This is a test, so I'm curious if it's going to be able to use any of the tools that are out there. I think I want it to use something that we don't need a backend for, because you know, I think I want this to be straightforward. Okay, so for auth and database, feel free to use Firebase, right? I know a lot of people have opinions about Firebase, but this is just a test or a benchmark. Okay, and then for what else? So we have auth, we have database, it can use Firebase, we have design system, it can use Tailwind. What else does it need? So let's start with that and let's see what it does. I'm curious if it's gonna be able to do things right. So let's start with Gemini. So I'm going to paste this here, okay? And I'm going to paste this here for Codex, okay? All right, and I'm just going to start Gemini, and then I'm going to start Codex. Okay, so as we can see here, race has started. Yes, allow always. Okay, so if you notice, Gemini started to just work immediately. Like, it just started to do things, right? Codex is reading, it's taking up its time, it's reading, and now it's setting up the template. So I'm just gonna say always allow, right? So that it just works. Okay, I'm gonna put these side by side. All right, so I'm seeing that it's putting the tailwind inside the CSS file. That's correct. I think if we want, we can actually look at the tailwind docs setup for it. Docs installation. So you can see using Vite here. Typically, we use the plugin. We import just Tailwind CSS, and we run dev. So I'm seeing that it's okay. I'm going to allow it to do that. Okay, always. Okay, so it is this way. It might be fine, may not. Typically, I know that I've just needed to do this with Vite. So maybe it would work. Curious. Okay, so it wants to remove something. Codex always. I wish I could just say just do everything, right? I think you can do that with the Codex tab here. I'm curious what they are both doing. So Gemini changes to hello world already. Codex hasn't changed that yet. Okay. It's doing a post CSS config here, which is interesting. I don't think we need to add a post CSS config. From what I know, like I just think that, yeah, I don't think you need to add one. Like typically, this is all you need for Vite. If you're using post CSS, that you do that, but we are using Vite. Okay, that is quite disappointing from Codex, but maybe it will still work. I'm curious. Okay, so they both aren't really doing a great job at the Tailwind setup, to be honest. Okay, so it's awaiting Firebase details. All right. So what I'm going to do on the side here is I'm going to create a quick Firebase project on my end. Of course, I'm going to delete it after, but they are both going to use the same project. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to say Gemini, GPT versus. We're going to create that. Okay, probably going to move this in soon so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just going to move that here and move this to the second. So while they're working, I'm just going to set up a project here. Okay, they are both still working. I think Gemini is just waiting on Firebase details, so that's okay. So we are going to create a project. We're going to add the Firebase details, and it's going to go from there. Okay. All right. So now we are going to go to our settings, web versus. Okay. So for anyone that hasn't set up a project in Firebase, this is how to. I'm just gonna remove these keys once this is done. Okay, so Gemini wants the Firebase. So where did it want us to add this? Looking at Gemini, it added a config where Okay. I'm just going to search for the configuration. Did it add one? PI key. Okay, it added it here, so I'm just going to paste that there for it. I added the Firebase config so it can continue its work. So looks like Codex seems to have built out quite a couple things, but at the same time, I think it's kind of just going on a long thing here. We don't need Tailwind CSS post CSS, right? Like, that's not needed, but I'm just gonna tell it to continue. Okay, I just told, yeah. Okay, so Gemini is continuing. I'm pretty disappointed with this though. Like, I feel like they should be a little bit more up to date with things to be able to know how to set up. Okay, so Codex is going on a long rant. Okay, maybe what I should do, I should copy this and I should paste this in here. I should copy and paste the link. Oh, what is Gemini doing? Oh. What? Okay. I think Gemini is going on a whole different... I don't know what's going on here, but I'm just gonna leave that. Looks like there's an issue with the CLI. Okay, so what did Codex do? So it says, all set, I built a functional property management app with Firebase Auth plus Firestore and Tailwind. Wired up with React Router on feed. You can sign up, assign in, add properties with full address plus friends, and create tenants assigned to properties. So what did it change? So it did a Tailwind setup. I don't think it did it well. I'm gonna check. Probably didn't. Firebase integration. Set up Firebase. It added the auth context, protected route, wrapper. Okay. App structure and routing, React Router, navbar, pages. Okay, so we're just gonna test this out. It looks all right. Like, I think I want to test it out. I want to see, first of all, I want to see what the UI looks like. Second of all, I want to see if there are bugs. I want to see if the CSS is actually working. So Gemini, what is Gemini doing? Gemini is kind of going on this kind of weird loop. I don't know what is going on with their thing here. Like, it's just going on a loop. Why? What? Okay, like, I think I might just need to close this. That's too... That's pretty disappointing. Okay, let's see. Does anyone know how to resume in Gemini? Memory. No, I don't think so. Well, I guess Gemini lost context about things. Okay, how do we resume in Gemini CLI? Is there like a help thing? Commands. Okay. So Codex is done at this point where you have to test, but I want to continue the conversation in Gemini. I know you can do that with Codex with -- resume. but there's no clear way to do this in Gemini. Resume conversation, Gemini, CLI. Is this a feature? Oh my. You have to save your conversation? Oh my goodness. That's actually horrible. Why is this horrible? Because things happen. Like you just saw what happened. There's no way to actually resume a conversation. This Codex has this built in. Like I can show you what this looks like with Codex. If I go here, I do new tab, Codex -- resume. Did they change this as well? Okay. Huh. I do know I've used this before. So I am a bit surprised that this is not working. Is it that instead? Well, let's search Codex resume conversation. All right. Okay, so apparently there's a Codex history. I don't know if they changed it to resume. They changed it for resume. Yeah, that doesn't do anything. Like, why did they remove this? My goodness, like. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, yeah, I knew it. Like, you can actually do this, like, in Codex. Like, they changed it from this to that. So that makes sense, but why doesn't Gemini have this? I feel like that is an important feature because now I just lost all of the context. Like I just lost everything. Like that's terrible. Like how is this not a feature? Like you have to. Wow. Yeah, there's no. Yeah, like you have to manually save. Like this is. That's terrible dev experience, but I don't know. I guess we are just going to paste the same like prompt. Like it doesn't make sense, but I guess so. Like Gemini is basically going to have to start all over again, or at least somehow manage to continue from where it stopped. Okay. Right now, let's test what. Yeah, this is what Codex did. First of all, stylings are not set up here. Like this is fairly basic. I feel like it should be able to set this up, but it can't. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna paste it here. Looks like you used post CSS to set up tailwind instead of feet. I am on a project. Okay, let's see if it's smart enough to fix its problem. Meanwhile, Gemini is behind. Which is quite unfortunate, but didn't I like already do this? Doesn't Gemini, there is already a setup in Firebase.ts. So this is bad. Set up in Firebase.ts already. Like, I feel like it should scan the repo and it should understand that we've already set things up. Are you kidding me? Like, it's trying to do it again. I said I already set this up in did it delete it or what? Like oh, this is GPT-5. Okay, that is my bad. Okay, all right, continue. GPT-5 has the setup, but not Gemini. Okay, scratch that. All right, so Firebase is going to do the setup again. Okay, I'm going to just copy this from here in GPT-5, and I'm going to put this in sign up page. Allow always. All right. I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna put it for Gemini again. I think Gemini tried. I'm just wondering why it messed up, why its CLI just was on an infinite loop. Like, that was weird. But let's see the solution we get from both. Okay, so apparently Codex is done setting up Tailwind again. So what did it do? Let's look at what it did. So we have our Tailwind. So let's look at this. We have a feed config. So let's look there. So we have this. That's awesome. Okay, we have the CSS. It's still that, but it has this here. That's not bad. That is actually pretty good once we gave it context. Okay. All right, so Gemini is still working. Sign up login pages, protected routes, pages for managing properties. So it says it's confirming the application. All right, so let's try this. So it looks like the signing page is broken. And it's most likely because of the post CSS config we have here, right? So I could fix this for it, but I think I'm just going to get it to remove this probably. So this is Codex. So we don't need these config anymore since we are using it. Okay. All right, so it's going to remove all of that. Gemini is done, but I don't think the server is running for some reason. So let's see what's broken. Okay, so looks like that's what's broken. So I'm just gonna tell Gemini this. I think the interesting thing about a lot of these models is that okay. Did it remove this? Gemini, GPT-5. Okay, so this is GPT-5, and it looks like it removed the post CSS thing. Okay, but it's still not running, so maybe we're gonna try and restart the server. That's fine. Okay, so Codex has this up and running, which is nice. For Gemini, it's having issues with this, so we're gonna copy this. Did I already do that? Nope, didn't do that yet. Oh, I did, but it's stuck again. What's going on with Gemini? Like, why do I have to cancel the requests? The server is already running. Like, you could, it was just stuck. Okay. So it says it's fixing the import. Let's see if it's able to do that. Okay, you know, the interesting thing about these models is that they are, I think it's interesting because I feel like automatically whenever you ask it to set up a dependency, I, the user, shouldn't have to say, here's the docs. Because I know the docs because I'm a developer. That's how I develop. I look at the docs to set up something. But someone who's a vibe coder, someone who has never coded a day in their life, sure, I would recommend looking at documentation. But it's not initial instinct to just paste the doc link in there on how it should install Tailwind. I feel like it should look up the docs automatically. I think that that will be an amazing experience because I've run into several situations where, you know, I tell it to set up something and it tries to use an old way, or it doesn't recognize that I'm using a specific configuration. Because what they should have done was to say, hey, you're using Vite. This is a Vite project. Let me look at the docs for setting up Tailwind CSS with Vite. It looks that up. It sees that this is how to do it. It does that. You're going to get a much better experience from the get-go compared to, hey, it doesn't recognize what type of project it is. It uses the wrong setup and everything is just a mess. Right? So Codex is fine. Looks like styling is working. But let's fix Gemini so that we can test these side by side. So looks like Gemini is stuck again, essentially. So I am going to escape and I am going to try this again. So it looks like it also didn't fix the problem that it had. So I'm going to go into use auth. Okay. Did Gemini install node modules? That's the thing. Like, did it actually install? Yeah, like, okay. I'm having to code here for Gemini, which should not be the desired thing. Yeah, like I had to fix that for Gemini. Okay, so there is also an issue here. So Gemini has made a couple mistakes here. So properties page doesn't provide an export name property. So where did export interface property? Yeah. Okay, what's the other issue? Tenants page. So my guess is that Gemini can't understand that these are types. Okay, so we are going to, okay. So I fixed that for Gemini, but now there is an issue here. So the issue here with Gemini is it did the same issue with had the same problems with the styling, right? So CSS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it looks like Tailwind CSS setup is wrong. Let's fix this. I am using a V project, and here are the docs. So let's see what it does. While it does that, we are going to set up authentication, because with Firebase, I think typically you need to set up the auth. So I'm just gonna see get started, email and password, enable, save, done. So that's there. Same thing with the database as well. I think we need to actually create the database. I'm just going to use a standard edition. United States. And by the way, whenever you create a Firebase Firestore database, make sure that you actually start in production mode, right? If you are going to be deploying to production, right? So what that means is that allow read write should be here, and you should say if, you should have good security rules. The issue is that a lot of people do start in test mode. Sometimes they even change the timestamp to just true, if true. And so anyone can read any doc, I can write to any doc. That's extremely dangerous. So I'll start in prod mode, and I would actually add rules for each document and for each type of collection that you have. So let's go in test mode, and let's go back to here. Okay. So database is set up, author setup. What is it doing here? What is Gemini doing? Gemini is, what is it doing? Allow execution of init P. Why is it doing that? I'm just gonna let it go, but I think it's doing something insane. It's trying to modify things in the node modules, or trying to, like, I gave it link to the doc. Now it's trying to remove my package log. Sure, let's go ahead. Let's do that. It's completely wrong. Like, I know it's just gone on a whole tangent, but like, I'm gonna be honest, this is unusable, right? Like, you can't, like, someone who doesn't know what they're doing can't rely on this. Someone who doesn't know completely what they're doing cannot rely on Gemini. I'm gonna be honest with you. At least in this current state. In this current state, because Okay, it says it's trying to run the server again, but it's still wrong, right? Like this is still wrong. So we are going to okay, we're going to fix this by ourselves. First of all, we don't need this. Move to trash. Second of all, we don't need post CSS. Move to trash. Third of all, we don't need post CSS in here. Move to trash. I mean, if you look at GPT-5, I don't see post CSS, right? Like we don't need that. So I don't know what it did with globals, why it added that, but I don't know if Codex did the same thing. So looks like Codex did. Does that come installed automatically with a project maybe, or maybe it's a dependency, sub-dependency, I don't know. All right, so let's fix this. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go here. We are going to copy this. We are going to paste it in the Gemini one, right? Because Gemini is really not helping much here. So we're going to install that. Then we are going to go to Tailwind config in here for Gemini, as you can see on the bottom left here. Vig config Tailwind CSS. Okay. Okay. So, and then we're going to go to the CSS file. This one. I'm going to paste that there. And voila. Okay. That now works. At least the styling works. But what did it do? Homepage. Login. I see what it's trying to do, but I mean, I'm gonna move the code so we can see the full UI for this. Okay. All right. So, let's close this. We don't need that anymore. So, these are the two things they both did. So this is what Gemini did. This is what Codex did. Right off the bat, honestly, Codex is better here. I mean, if I go to the home screen, it automatically goes to sign in because, first of all, I didn't ask it for a homepage. I asked it for a property management app. I didn't ask it for a homepage, and it added a homepage. Sure, it could be nice, but at the same time, you didn't even implement anything here. If you went the extra mile to add a homepage, I feel like it should just be empty. The navigation bar, like, this is all right. Like, I guess it's fairly like basic. Like, there's really nothing here but text and the links. But right off the bat, I really prefer the experience from Codex. One thing nice about Codex is that here you can see that there is a login, a sign-in button in Gemini, email and password. You know, you can put whatever you want to put. But on Codex side, Codex did an amazing job here because you have your sign-in screen, but at the same time, there's also a link to actually creating one right there. I think like this is perfect. Like I would do this. I would do this in real life. Gemini has sign up here, but I feel like you should also put a link to you don't have an account, create one. Right. So we're gonna try to sign in. Let's try with or sign up. Let's try with I used the same project for both, right? So maybe it's not great that I did that. The password. Okay. Create account. Okay. Sure. All right. So what Codex did, honestly, I've seen this kind of UI before. It's very simple. Like, you have your properties, you have your tenants, and you can add like properties and stuff. I think we're gonna try to log in with same password. Right. Okay. The UI roughly, honestly, is kind of similar. You have add property and you have your properties. Like, this is fairly basic and similar. Like, I don't like they both look kind of the same. This is a bit of like a card UI. This is Codex, by the way. This is what Codex did. This is what Gemini did. So let's just add a property, some property, something like that, right? Let's see if it actually works. We're gonna put a random address here, right? Our product and 2, whatever. We're gonna put a random city, New York. What's the city? Sorry, I'm not from the US, so I don't know. Toronto, Ontario, postcode, country, Canada. Okay, let's put a rent amount. So like, let's do like, I don't know, 2,000. First of all, like, I cannot erase this. This is, I cannot erase the 0. Why? That's kind of horrible. Like, I get it, but like, why? I have to use the arrows, essentially. That's horrible. Let's try here. Okay, so name. Just gonna use the same thing. Random address. 2. Postal code. Some code. City Toronto. State Ontario. Country Canada. Just gonna put, oh yeah, that's perfect. Like, I can actually erase the thing. Like, okay, so we're gonna add a property here. No thanks. Nothing added there. What happened with Codex? That is kind of shocking. Gemini did a great job. First of all, you can actually add the property and it actually shows up immediately you add it. If you reload, it should still be there. Okay. Codex is not even reading from the, I mean, they're probably not reading from the same database, right? Like, they might have put the collection, they're reading from the same database, but the collection might be different for each of them. It's okay. We can check the database to see what they did after. I think it would be interesting, actually. Let me check that. Yeah. Okay, go to console. So let's what they did. Firestore. Okay, so Gemini, Gemini actually added it. They're both doing the same collection, but I think, of course, like they should get both. But I think the way they query it is probably different. My guess is this is what Gemini did, which makes sense. Actually, I don't know. Let me see. Some property random address here. Let's take a look at the code to see how they're querying it, essentially. So let's go to pages, properties. So owner UID is Codex. I think, yeah, so this is this Gemini? This is GPT-5, yeah. Owner UID is Codex. So this is Codex. That being said, Gemini is this one. Okay, but Gemini actually shows something. Codex does not. From a UI perspective, I think that Codex did a better job. From a functionality perspective, I think Gemini actually works. Right off the bat, I'm quite surprised that Codex failed at this. I feel like I've seen it work. Gemini, I think, is pretty good at getting functionalities right. That being said, sometimes can really mess up in the developer experience on the CLI, as well as, you know, weird issues that we got with it. So let me prompt Codex and let me see if it can fix itself. Looks like, first of all, let me see if there's anything actually coming from the network. Okay. Is that the query? Let's see. So I just want to see here. Where is the data? I don't know. I don't know where the Firebase queries its data. So, would that be here? No, this is just the JS script. Okay, so we have users. Okay. Here's some hash. Okay. Is it actually querying the database though? The query requires an index. That's interesting. So I think Firebase is actually trying to work. Codex is actually trying to query the database, but I think that it might be okay. Okay, so I think I see what happened with Codex. So Codex, I think, actually got this right. But I think the issue was that so the way Firebase works or Firestore works is that when you do like this complex queries, you actually need to do an index in the database for it to actually return something. And so that's what we're getting here. So let's see if this helps Codex. My guess is that Gemini did its integration a bit. It didn't have to. It didn't do a complex query like the way Codex did. So let's take a look at this and sort of like see what Codex did versus what Gemini did. So for Codex, it should basically try to query here. So collection db properties where owner id equals user.id created at descending. Okay, so Codex is actually trying to query what the owner owns, not all the properties in the database. That makes sense. Let's see what Gemini did though. So I'm going to open Gemini here, and I'm going to see what it did. Okay, no, it's not there, of course, not properties page. Okay, so Gemini did the same thing. Or similar thing, essentially. So if you look at both of them, it probably is because of order by. Most likely, because I think it's because Codex did order by. Most likely. Let's see if, yeah, so Codex gets it now. So I don't think Codex is at fault here, so probably scratch my last comment. I think that it did a good job ordering it. That's fine. I think you just had to index it. That being said, though, this is ugly. Like, I get it. Like, this too is kind of ugly, but I mean, if I were to add another one, like some property address, random address, 2. This time I'm going to put better. And I'm going to put Calgary, postcode, country, Canada. Okay, so add property. Okay, I think this is nice. It's sort of like a table, like a card type of thing, right? Like here you have this. So next thing we want to do is we want to see like tenants, right? Like what does tenant look like? So I'm gonna add it first to Codex. So you can see Codex has a property. So I can assign the property to that tenant, which is nice, like a selector. Like this is how I probably have done it. So I'm going to say Timmy plus tenant at example.com 513000000, like whatever, like we don't have validation. Add tenant. It's the same issue that Codex is run into. Most likely. The strange thing about Firebase is that we don't even get any like okay, so we have to do this again. Okay. Okay, so save. So that would be the query. That's fine. So I'm gonna go back here. So here we have properties as well. That's fine. Go to tenants. Okay, we don't have anything. Tenant name, Timmy. Timmy plus Gemini tenant at gmail.com. I'm just gonna say an example. Copy. So it is something similar. Okay, and it actually has it there. So I mean, they're both very similar. Like I'm gonna be honest, it's like they're both similar. I sort of prefer Codex, but I think Gemini also did a good job getting the functionality right. I think that there's some parts here which is like super weird. Like I cannot get rid of 0, which is like why. But that's fairly like minor. You can just tell it to fix that and it will fix it. Tenant stuff is probably working fine for Codex, so I'm going to wait for this to finish building, and then we can sort of check that it did that right. One thing I want to do though is I want to add one more thing to this, which I think would be pretty interesting. First of all, no one's going to build this sort of interface this way in real life. Like, it's all right, but like this is horrible. From a UI, like this is okay for AI, sure, but like if no one's actually gonna use this product this way, what I want to do is I want to see a table view, and I want that to be a button to add a tenant on the right side, like an actual, like, real life app, right? And then when you click the button, it's going to open up an overlay, and you're going to be able to add the property that way, like a modal, or it could be a slide over sheet, could be a bottom sheet, could be whatever. So I want it to do that. And so let's see if Codex got this right. It did. That's fine. That's all right. So this, I think, will determine a lot. I want to see which model does this well, really well. So I'm going to say Codex, let us change the UI for the interface. I want the tenants and properties, because I want to use the same for both. So I'm going to put this in a prompt, and then I'm just going to go to the prompt here. Okay. I know it does that. I know anything. So let's change the UI for the interface. I want the tenants and properties to be a table, a nice table. There should be a button on the at the top of the table to create the new property, and another one for tenant. New property, and one and the same for tenants as well to create a new tenant. And then what I'm going to say here is the button should open a modal for both the properties and tenants views. Right. So let's see who does this, and let's see who does this well. Okay. So I'm just gonna erase that. Okay. So I Codex to do that. Gemini was stuck again. I'm gonna ask Gemini to do the same thing. Let's see which model does it well. Also, what? Okay. So I think the interesting thing is this is broken. Okay. Why is it broken? Is it making edits? Oh, it made the same mistake. Oh well, that's Gemini for you. Like, I feel like it should have somehow just used the example of what I did before, which is like importing the type, you know. I feel like that makes sense, but it didn't do that, which is kind of like, why not? Wow, Codex is already done with properties and tenants. Oh my goodness, that was fast. In all honesty, that was really fast. Like, this is good. This is really good, and it was done really well. That's a bit weird. Like, I feel like it should be, why? Okay, we're just gonna leave that for now. So this is nice. This is good. Is Gemini done? Okay, Gemini is broken again. Okay, so let's go to properties page. All right, let's fix this again. Let's reload. Okay, tenants page 2 again is broken. Okay. Okay. Well, I don't really like this. Like, this is the same, but why do they do the black background? Like, okay, if you're gonna do like a overlay like this, like, make sure it's transparent. You know, like, I feel like that just here is just, this just looks weird. But it's all right. Add tenant, like, same. There is a bit of issues here. Like, see, like, this should be on the email, this should be on their name, this should be on their property. Like, it is the same issue here. Like, if I look here, like, everything is well aligned, everything is under what they should be under. Like, overall, like, in terms of like looking at this, I think that Codex did an amazing job in everything. I think where Codex had an issue in initially was basically being able to add Tailwind CSS, but once you sent it a link, it basically fixed that. So the only, on Codex side, like, I didn't have to make any changes. Like, the only thing that I changed was literally the Firebase config. I never had to go into the code base and make a fix and make a change. It also fixed the, I believe that it also fixed the CSS, right? Like, CSS issue that we had. Whereas on the Gemini side, I had to fix that manually, right? Even if I have to tell it to do, like, even if I have to send it the link, I had to fix that manually. So overall, like, honestly, Codex is just generally a better model, and I understand maybe Gemini needs to be updated. There needs to be a new model for Gemini, most likely, but the CLI experience is not great. Like, you can't resume a conversation. I'm not sure why you can't just resume a conversation. I feel like it should just autosave. I shouldn't have to save my chat because anything can happen. Terminal can close, terminal can freeze. I might need to force quit. Like, you know, I may not have the time to save. On the other hand, on Codex side, you saw that I didn't have to save. I went there and the chat was, I could resume the chat. So overall, I think Gemini is really struggling on the CLI experience, the developer experience on the CLI side, and also like it being able to use queues. Like, hey, here's the docs. I need to invite project. Figure this out, right? And so this has been a fun experience. It's been a fun experiment. We could add one more extra task. See who does that better. I think they're both going to do it well. Which should be delete if you want to do delete. But I feel like if you're looking for a model to use, I think that Gemini is great. It can get your work done for you, but you're gonna have to do a little bit more. You're gonna have to be a little bit more hands-on with Gemini. Whereas with Codex, it's a bit more autonomous. You're not really diving into the code as much as Gemini, and also you're getting a better CLI or developer experience on the CLI. So it's really all up to which one you prefer. I prefer looking at both of these. I prefer the results from Codex. I prefer the experience I got with Codex. Gemini is alright and it's great, but that CLI experience really is not the best currently. So yeah, hope you have a great one. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. See ya.